Hey guys, how you doing today? Welcome to Helping Just Hoops. We got the whole crew here today for you. We're going to have an NFL podcast. Today, what we're doing, we're going to have the all-time fantasy draft. So what we each did, we drafted a team, and we're going to put it against one another. What we
Sir.
kept it within the last 20 years. Keep it kind of recent-ish. And if you pick one player, you can't take him. You pick a player from a year, you can't pick him on another team. So you get 2007 Randy Moss. Randy Moss is gone. Before we jump into it, we're going to get into a little news item. Recently, the Philadelphia Eagles, they proposed a rule change. The rule change is that instead of going for an onside kick, you get ball at the 25 for a 4th and 15 for a one-time shot to get that first down. We're going to break down our thoughts about it and see what you think. Anybody want to jump us off?
I'll start. I think it's kind of unfair. Like, if, let's say a team – because, all right, now an onside kick is a lot harder than a 4th and 15, in my opinion. It depends on, like, who you have in your personnel. And it's just unfair. It changes the game a little too much, in my opinion. The NFL is always trying to change the game up too much, where they should just stay consistent with it. It's a classic sport for a reason.
Well, what do you think the reasoning behind it is? Are they because like the NBA where they make the rule changes where you can't play as much defense, basically they want more scoring. The NFL they allow free movement for like receivers more so they want more scoring. I don't know if this would give more scoring per se. I guess in teams' minds it might be easier to get the ball back for a 4th and 15, and so it'll create more drama because you're trying to come back, so that would create more drama. It'd be better watching instead of one team kicking an onside kick, the other team kneeling it out. I'm just trying to get the reasoning behind it. If a lot of teams are clamoring for it, or what?
It seems like everyone is just backing away from defense. Why don't you just rely on your defense to stop that team instead of relying on a lucky 4th and 15 shot or a, and if you're that good on offense, then you have 3 tries to get it, or 4 technically. Get it on those tries instead of having to bring in a whole 4th and 15 to do it. It's unnecessary.
I mean, I feel like I see this in the NFL a lot where teams you see the team play. I remember specifically the Seahawks played the Cowboys not this past year, but the year before in the playoffs. And over it was the Seahawks run the ball, run. And then they got down a score or two, and then they had to open it up a little bit more, and they abandoned it slightly. And then they were able to move the ball. It's like these teams they're stuck in their way. They want to stick to their methodology so hard, fast that they're not willing to adjust until they absolutely have to. Because on a 4th and 15, you're not going to run the ball. You have to try something creative. But they don't do that all game for whatever reason. It's.
I mean, that's my point. Like, you have all game to do that, so just fix up your coaching, if anything.
I mean, the NFL is it's a very old sport. I love it. But I feel like it's a lot of old-time thinkers, old-fashioned thinkers that are at the helms of these teams, not really willing to change the way that it's worked for them. They got them here to this point, to this opportunity. So easier said than done, because if you do something crazy and out of the norm and then you miss it, and then you're scrutinized and was like, what was that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the challenges they brought in last year. Are they even going to do it again from in the future? Or
no, they nixed that, which I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing for me. Like, I think if they do approve it, they're going to nix it after 1 year.
So, I mean, Matt, what do you think? Sorry, talking over you here.
I don't know what to think about this. Like, the only reason I could even see them doing this, which is the reason that NFL does everything else, is safety. But if they're not changing the kickoff as much, then I don't know why they would change the onside kick for safety reasons, because it's not like you're running as far. You don't have a chance for as high of an impact as the regular kickoff. It's almost like they just want more viewership, because I feel like, well, actually, that wouldn't change viewership. It would just make the game, like you said, more dramatic. Like, there's just another point in the game to get off your feet and
change the momentum. Yeah.
But like, I don't know how to feel about it yet.
I'm always open to trying new things, not everything. But a new rule change, I don't think it's terrible. I want to see how it plays out if it actually gets enacted for this year as like a test year. Um, but yeah, so give it a shot.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how. I mean, I don't think it's going to be approved, but we'll see.
I mean, they have these rule changes every year.
Yeah. Everyone out there, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Drop your comments. Drop your comments if you like it, or if you don't like it, let us know.
And let us know why, because I'm trying to get a feel for how other people feel about it. I know how I feel about it. I'm usually pretty, go with the flow with it. See how it turns out before I develop a real opinion. So,
Amen.
All right. So we're going to talk about the draft right now. So we're going to go over our teams real brief for you guys so you have an overview of like what our teams look like. Then we're going to break it down by position group. I'm going to start off because I'm already talking. Yeah. So at quarterback, I have 2013 Peyton Manning, record holder, 55 touchdowns. I'll say less. Then my running backs are going to be. I'm going to backstep a little bit. So this is going to be the fantasy lineup we have. So when we run through our teams, it's going to be a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a flex. So that's going to be a tight end, wide receiver, or running back, and then a defense. All right, so back again.
I'm going to interrupt. We have no kickers because Sean hates kickers for some reason. I have no idea. You can ask him why, but
kickers aren't people. Moving on. So I got a quarterback, Peyton Manning, 2013. My 2 running backs are going to be 2000 Marshall Faulk from the best team. I forgot what the best show on turf.
Great show on turf, yeah.
Great show. Great way to start off. I got 2019 McCaffrey, 2007 Randy Moss is my first receiver, 2015 Julio Jones, 2011 Gronk, 2005 Sean Alexander is going to be my flex, and then I have the 2019 New England defense as my defense. Haytham, want to go into yours?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to start with my quarterback, and that is Action Jackson from last year. My first running back will be 2002 Priest Holmes. My second running back will be 2013 Jamal Charles. My first receiver will be Antonio Brown from 2015. I'm sorry, Ravens fans. 2019 Michael Thomas will be my second receiver, most catches in NFL history. 2013 Jimmy Graham is my tight end. 2017 Todd Gurley is my flex. And, of course, the 2000 Baltimore defense is my defense. Go ahead, Matt.
All right. Here we go. The best team of the bunch. My quarterback is 2018 Pat Mahomes. My first running back is 2006 LaDainian Tomlinson. My second running back is 2016 David Johnson. My first wide receiver is 2011 Calvin Johnson, a.k.a. Megatron. My second wide receiver is 2002 Marvin Harrison, and that is who Michael Thomas broke his record, right?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
The reception. And then my tight end is 2018 Travis Kelce. My flex is 2009 Chris Johnson. Yes, please.
CJ2K?
My defense is the 2. Yep. And my defense is the 2002 Bucks defense. Let's go, Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp.
Ray Lewis wins.
All right. We don't have a set format how we're going to address this. We're going to do more so by position group, just trying to talk up about why our team is best. I think it's pretty easy. If you're looking at it from a fantasy standpoint, Peyton Manning scored the most points. So we can move on from quarterback if you want.
All right, so Lamar Jackson had just 1,200 rushing yards alone. Rushing yards. And that is unheard of. A quarterback literally broke the record for it. So I had to get my mans in that position.
Haytham is our Skip Bayless, by the way. Homer.
Skip.
See, I really thought that Lamar Jackson, just because of those rushing numbers, broke the quarterback fantasy record, but apparently not.
No, Peyton Manning saw the most.
Yeah, 55 touchdowns will do that for you. An extra, what's that, 19 touchdowns on top of Lamar Jackson? 19 times 6, that's something over 100 points just in that alone. Plus, he had more throwing yardage.
My guess, Matt, is the stat you saw was probably a 4-touchdown lead stat.
Oh, that could probably be it, because I thought I saw that somewhere that he would be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
So-
that would make sense. Lamar had 7 rushing touchdowns and he had 1,200 rushing yards. So,
Yeah, it would depend on
addition-
your scoring format. Yeah.
yeah, in addition to his 36 touchdowns.
But I mean, Peyton Manning, I don't hear anything about Pat Mahomes. I would say that you got a good value for him. You know, you got him in the 8th or later round in a fantasy draft for Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes in their first year because, you know, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. That's where I saw average draft position taken from me.
Well, yeah, it looks like I took Mahomes in the 8th. Sean took Manning in the 8th.
Oh, no, I'm talking about like in an actual fantasy draft, not in our 3-team draft.
Oh, gotcha.
In like a normal fantasy draft, it's because of the value you get for those guys. I can see an argument, but if we're just talking about the greatest team, mine's greater. But I will say that this is a peel back behind the curtain for you guys. Haytham actually took – so what we did is we did a snake draft. So it was Matt, Sean, Haytham, and then we would loop Haytham would get the first pick of the second round, so on and so forth. He took Lamar Jackson with the first pick of the second round. So after that, I didn't have to take a quarterback because it was between Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes for me. So I could literally stack up running backs and wide receivers as Haytham had made his pick so early that I was like, there's no need.
I got scared because Matt always talks about Lamar Jackson. I was like, man, I feel like Matt's going to take Lamar from me. Just snake my man for me.
I was thinking about it.
He knows that you're going to take your Homer pick.
Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
My man.
So, I mean, if anyone has anything else to say about quarterbacks, speak now. There it is.
Nope.
So we're going to move right into the running backs. Running backs.
LT, baby.
Well, I will say LT had a great season, but I think you got to look at the running back room as a whole. Marshall Faulk, amazing season. And what we typically use is we're going to use PPR scoring, so LT does beat him out by a good 30 points or so. But the strength and the depth of my team, Marshall Faulk, around 255 fantasy points. McCaffrey, 270. It doesn't compare to LT's 287, but then 411 is going to be David Johnson. So he has a full 40 points less than either of my starting running backs, which makes up the difference.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about LT for a second. Fantasy running back of all time. As a fantasy player, when you have a running back that rushes for 1,815 yards, scores 28 touchdowns alone just on the ground, and also catches 50 passes for 500 yards and 3 more touchdowns, that's the definition of a league winner. He scored so many points that season that you could have played with one less receiver. You could have played without a wide receiver too and still been in the championship that year. He's just amazing, okay? I kind of have a little crush. I had a fat head of him since I was probably 4 years old on my wall in Ohio, but now I don't have it anymore. But I don't know. I just love LT.
Oh yeah, I mean LT. He. I think he would be the consensus first overall pick on the 2006 LT. Matt was first and got him first.
Yeah.
And I definitely would have taken him first if I had the first pick.
I wouldn't have done it.
Oh my God, Sean.
I'm just saying, like, if you're thinking about fantasy, these guys, you're not comparing them to other teams in their years. You're talking about comparing these all-time greats to one another. So if you're just going, like, for example, let's compare the LT's season to McCaffrey's. He had a better season. LT did. Fine. But when we're talking about these historic seasons, they probably carried you to a fantasy playoff, right?
Definitely.
So, and let's say that you got that first round bye. For everyone to know that's going to be week 14. Week 15, 16 will be your playoff. Let me tell you how LaDainian Tomlinson did in week 15 and 16. How many points he had? 14.3 and 10.
We don't need to talk about that.
McCaffrey, 32.3, 22.8. That is
why I would take him first.
Well, I don't know. LT, if we're just talking about overall points, he killed it that year.
Obviously, but
Straight killed
And
it.
then he wet the bed once you got to the playoffs.
Well, I mean, if you think about that team, they had a good record, so
Jackson.
they probably were resting him towards the end of the season.
Fine, but I'm talking about for our team, our all-time great. If you want a fantasy championship, you need them to perform every single week. Every week could be the difference between a bye week or getting to the playoffs. It could be knocking you out of the playoffs if they sit, like Lamar Jackson did in week 16. It didn't play.
So did that help?
He did at week 17.
Maybe.
I love this going back and forth. This is great.
I'm going to go back to my researcher.
16 games, 17 seasons, John.
Anyways, so that's why
I picked. I was happy that he took LT because it took the pressure off for me to do it when I really dug into the numbers.
So you didn't even get McCaffrey with your first pick.
Yeah,
So
who
explain
did?
that.
No, I know that you guys wouldn't take him. It comes at a time where you took a quarterback in the second round. I know I didn't need to take a quarterback anymore. I can
Wait until the very last round to get the one I want.
Well, I mean, you didn't know I was going to do that, though. Like, I could have taken McCaffrey. He was my third pick between. So I'll get to my first pick later on, but Lamar Jackson and McCaffrey were my two that I was thinking about for my second pick. So I could have gotten it from you.
Absolutely, but I had Marshall Faulk. I wanted Marshall Faulk, so I had to go there.
Well, I mean, that just kind of like took away your whole CMC argument.
Oh no! How does that negate it? It's still he was better. I didn't have to do it. He took LT. It took the pressure off of me. I played the room.
I knew that you wouldn't. I thought you would take a quarterback. I didn't think you'd take it that early. But I wanted Marshall Faulk. I knew that people automatically assumed he had one of the greatest seasons on the board. So I wanted to get that out of the way.
After that, I just played. I had a list of guys of who I wanted, and that's where I went.
I mean, because I'm not gonna lie, you were smart with it. Because I was gonna get Marshall Faulk if he took LT, if Matt had taken LT. I was gonna get Marshall Faulk, and I would have taken my first pick. But I was like, oh, you know what? Let me get my man action.
I mean, look, Matt took 3 running backs with his first 3 picks. After that, I knew I could wait on running back because I had guys I wanted. So I was like, I'm not going to go there. So I'm going to pivot. My first 2 picks were running backs because I picked
right before Matt. But after that, then I went wide receiver, tight end to make sure I got the ones I wanted, Randy Moss and Gronk. So I didn't just take a static list and then just pick my guys. I was like, oh, I like him. Like, no, you took that, so I'm going to do this. I was reacting as it happened.
True. Well, yeah, there's explanation for our first 2 picks.
I mean, if you guys have anything else about running backs, we could add it in. Like to talk about the wide receivers a little bit. A little brief overview. Matt
As
had
Megatron, Marvin Harrison.
Did you want to do our second running back or no?
go into whatever you want. You go into your points. Wherever you think you can win this argument, I will shut it down. I'm ready.
God. Well, let's say I'm running backs then and talk about our second running backs. Okay, I have the best second run. Just kidding. I'm pretty sure this was the only good guy left. 2016 David Johnson. I was kind of disappointed he didn't. He kind of paved the way for the new age running backs. I think Brian Westbrook had a high reception count too, but he caught 80 balls in 2016 for 879 yards.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure only Brian Westbrook before him had anywhere over like 70 receptions. So he kind of paved the way for the 80-plus reception running back.
My man Priest Holmes in 02 had 70.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, God. And I'm pretty sure – yeah, I'm pretty sure Priest – see, I'm going to get off 10 on Priest Holmes because he's actually my favorite running back of all time.
Is he really?
All right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had 3 straight seasons of over 60 receptions. I just didn't know it was 70. It looks like get 70 and 74 the next season.
Yeah. So I was really torn between his 02 year and his 03 year. I had to check. I literally had to check before I drafted, and hit 02, he got like maybe 2 more fantasy points than he did in 03. He had a crazy little stretch in the NFL. Him and TD probably had the best 2-year stretch in the NFL.
Definitely.
Terrell Davis, if you don't know who I'm talking about, from the Broncos.
Anyone got
yeah.
anything else?
Nope.
All right, I think we should jump into wide receivers. Anybody want to start us off,
Or should I go off and start ranting again?
Good. You should start because you got the first receiver off the board.
First receiver off the board, Randy Moss, 2007, yeah.
Overrated.
Coming off the Patriots, that historic year for Tom Brady.
Randy Moss, I'm just going to rattle off a few of his stats. He had almost 1,500 yards, 23 touchdowns, 3 Jordan touchdowns. Michael Jordan number of touchdowns. He's the Michael Jordan that year. Took me to a championship. So, I mean, if that's
Straight
the first
cash,
pick,
homie.
yeah, if that's the first pick, what do you want? I mean, in the playoffs, he probably got you a bye week. If not, he got you 13 points. But after that, he got you 22 and 28. He ramped it up for you for the fantasy playoffs. So,
actually, and the crazy thing is, the last game in the season against the Giants, they were supposed to sit him and Brady, but the Giants were really in that game, and they won by 1 touchdown, and then ended up seeing them in the Super Bowl later on and lost to them.
didn't they go undefeated?
No.
What year?
They beat the Giants in Week 17.
Oh, I thought you said
lost.
okay.
And then they lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants.
No. Yeah, I thought you you were saying the Giants won by a touchdown. I was like,
No.
I don't think that's right.
No, definitely not.
So people want to hear about your wide receivers. Tell us why
You think that they're better than mine?
Well, I don't because, I mean, I would have taken Randy Moss as the first receiver, but my receivers definitely aren't anything to sneeze at. I have AB from 2015 and last year's Michael Thomas. AB, he had 136 receptions, 1,834 yards. His touchdowns were low, on the low side, which is why he had less points. He only had 10 receiving touchdowns. But he ended up still with, let's see how many. Still ended up with only only 5 less points than Randy Moss.
Yeah, he
Which
had
is
like
really,
3.
yeah.
Go ahead.
See, that's why I kind of didn't prioritize a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, because it's in terms of fantasy, that Randy Moss season was even that it was the best of all time. But there's
Not by
probably
much.
4 or 5 other receivers who had 20 or less fantasy points than he did.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's just his receptions were only at 98 and his yards were only at 1,500 compared to these other receivers. Like Marvin Harrison has 1722. AB had 1834. That's a lot. And then Megatron with the record year had 1871.
True. That's fine. You can agree to disagree, but it was a historic season, an historic figure on an historic team.
historic.
So tell me, I mean, what? And if you get that along with the fantasy production in the fantasy playoffs, I'm fine with that.
Checks out.
I mean, if you're looking at Marvin Harrison, he scored 9 points in the fantasy championship. Michael Thomas scored 8. That's not helping you. What are you going to do with that? Come on. I can almost do that. So, just saying.
Oh my god. Well, I have 2011 Megatron. I was trying to debate between this season and the season after when he had the other breakout year. But this season he had 96 receptions for 1,681 yards and 16 touchdowns. The only reason I picked this is because he simply had more fantasy points. So I think it was just a couple more. He was just dominant in those 2 seasons. Like there was no cornerback in the league who could stop him besides Darrelle Revis. And he kind of shut him down that game. But I personally think Megatron retired too early as well. Like when he retired, I literally almost cried.
Same. I loved watching Megatron play.
It's fun.
And he was so humble of a player too. He was one of my favorite players of all time, honestly.
Yeah. Like there's a couple like mic'd up sessions where like guys are just talking crap to him. He's just like laughing in their face, like blowing them kisses, then he catches like a 60-yard touchdown. It's just funny.
And he was on that Lions team, and I've never heard not one could play for him, and he was on an 0-6
yeah.
team. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how they didn't do better with just him on the team.
Defense is atrocious.
Shut your mouth. My second wide receiver is 2002 Marvin Harrison, who Michael Thomas stole the reception record from. This year he had 143 receptions for 1,722 yards and 11 touchdowns. So that was an unheard of reception total up until Michael Thomas, of course.
just man, that was wild.
That's insane. Whoever had Michael
slamming the
Thomas
desk?
last year.
Are you slamming the desk? Are you proclaiming?
Yes, because it's making me mad. No, the only reason I'm actually getting mad is because I lost 3 fantasy leagues last year because of Michael Thomas. All 3 teams that beat me in the championship had Michael Thomas. He just oh yeah. But I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. Now I'm getting mad.
I mean, it's wild how much Breeze and Bridgewater fed him the ball. They were just
20 targets a
feeding
game.
him.
They had no one else though. What do you expect?
Traquan Smith isn't bad, but I mean, I agree.
If that's the way you're going to describe a receiver, he isn't bad.
But you have Kamara too, and Kamara can catch out of the backfield as well.
Yeah, but Kamara missed those 3 or 4 games during the middle of the season, so you don't know how healthy he was.
Still, it's wild to me, like how much they fed him, and then it gave him the well-known receiver diva status, and he's been a diva ever since.
I mean, they were winning games at the same time, so it's not like they're doing this in spite of winning.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's not broke,
I drafted him, so
yeah, it's a great receiver. Is he your first receiver off the board, Matt?
Who?
Michael Thomas.
I got him.
No.
I'm talking about this upcoming season.
By far, yeah. We can talk about this in another episode, but all the mock drafts he's going like 2 or 3 above Barkley and like Kamara. And
I don't agree with that, but
yeah, that's for another episode.
Yeah, another episode.
Now
we're going to tight ends.
Yeah, let's head into tight ends. So Gronk smash.
So Sean got Gronk right before I was about to pick him up. Oh my god, I was like, all right, I need Gronk. I need that 2011 Gronk. But no. Sean
I was thinking about taking him right before.
And it's wild is that was his second season in the league, and he put up those numbers.
So are you building up my team? I'm confused.
I mean, if that'd be BS if to say
yes,
like
sir.
that'd be BS. That'd be BS, and I would lose credibility to say that Jimmy Graham in 2013 had a better season than Gronk in 2011. Everyone knows that was the best tight end season.
Feel free to vote for who you think our best teams are. We'll put this up immediately for everyone to tell me how good my team was. That's what I do.
Your team.
Hey, the 2018 Travis Kelce was no slouch, okay?
Oh, definitely not.
He had 103 catches for 1,336 yards and 10 touchdowns. Well, over these last few seasons, though, teams have been incorporating the tight end a lot more. Like, even these teams in 12 personnel with the double tight ends, you're seeing 50 catches each. Like, it's crazy how much the game is changing after, like, the 2000s started, like 2000 and up even.
Yeah, back when tight ends were just blockers, and that's all they were doing is block.
Yeah, like
block,
they'd catch 40 catches a year, and that'd be like a good season for a tight end.
Yeah, and they would look more like a taller linebacker a taller old lineman than an actual receiver. And now tight ends are looking at receivers. Shannon Sharp said that Julio Jones is bigger than he was when he was in the league.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL is getting bigger, faster,
stronger,
more efficient. So, like, the body types are different. So I think that helps players that are more, like, physically gifted succeed. That's why everyone is always so gaga over speed, because that's something you really can't teach. You can help a guy get bigger, training, diet, things.
Can't teach that speed.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. And then I had the best flex, and that was Todd Gurley in terms of points. Killed it in points. He actually had more than one of my running backs, Jamal Charles. But yeah, Gurley killed it with how many points did he have that year?
Around 387.
Jesus.
387. Yep. And
Yeah.
2017, he had 6 receiving touchdowns and 788 receiving yards with 64 receptions, let alone his 1,300 rushing yards and his 13 touchdowns. Great year that year, and then after that, that year was such a great year for the Rams offense, where they had an open offense and people didn't know where to zone in on. That was a year of Jared Goff's breakout season, which got him that money, that overrated money.
Definitely, yeah. Everyone was just overpaying running backs for some reason.
I don't know if you want to call it a breakout season from Goff. More of a
It was.
fluke. It's like a fluke season.
A one-hit wonder season.
Yeah, like a Blake Bortles season.
Ooh, don't do him like that.
Like-
Don't do Goff like Bortles.
They're
Bortles
not
is-
that far off.
They're very far off.
Goff
He's
is
not
right
even starting.
behind them.
No, all right. Rams fans, get at him. Get at John.
So, I mean, I can agree. If we're going to talk about the comparing teams, that Todd Gurley was a good pick for where you got him. 387 yards compared to my flex pick, who was Sean Alexander, who had about 10 points less. Todd Gurley in the fantasy playoffs, week 14, 45 points. So even if you even got to you might have even wanted to play in the wild card with that many points because you feel like he wasted them. But don't worry, he followed it up with 49 points in week 15. So he was like, "Oh, I'll get you the fantasy championship, and once I get you there, oh wait, I'm gonna rest 0."
Oof.
So I don't know what you're gonna do with that. But let me tell you about Sean Alexander: 23 points in week 14. 33 in week 15, and he had 13 in 16, but better than the 0 that Todd gave him. Well, he didn't play, but just letting you know. This is why I picked
It depends
my player.
it depends what kind of league you're in. If you're in a league that has less players, you're not even playing in week 16. Your fantasy season ends week 15.
No, week 16 is when it normally ends. Week 17 is when it's.
If you have less players and less people doing playoffs, if you only have 4 people doing the playoffs, it would only be 2-week season.
Yeah, it would be 15 and 16. You just don't have 14. Why would you end it earlier? Matthew, chime in.
Playoffs start week 14, don't they?
Yeah, nope, Matt.
I'm not saying anything. I want you guys. This is because you guys are like, wait.
Why would you end your fantasy football season sooner? You would just have the playoffs start later so you could have more fantasy football.
No, they usually start the same week because of the playoffs and bye weeks. They start in the same week.
Yeah, 15.
Whatever.
What?
Move on with your fucking. Yeah.
I thought we were talking about it.
Okay, well, I'm going to jump in. This is a perfect spot for me to name my flex player.
Go ahead, name your flex.
This is 2009. I have 2009 Chris Johnson. The year he rushed for 2,006 yards and 14 touchdowns. Mind-blowing. And he also had 50 receptions for 503 yards and 2 more touchdowns for a total of 342.9 fantasy points. So, even though that is, I'm pretty sure it's behind both your guys, right? Sean Alexander and who did?
He had the least amount of points of everyone that we drafted besides defense.
Yeah, Chris Johnson had the lowest points.
What are you talking about?
Over from everyone else? Who had lower points than Chris Johnson?
You mean in terms of running backs only?
No, everyone. Even Kelsey had more points than Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? On my team, he was the second highest. He had 342. What are you talking about? David Johnson at 327.8.
Don, what did you do with these numbers? Did you mess these numbers up?
This is the dumbest. This is what I have to deal with on this podcast.
Next up.
Okay. Well, Chris Johnson.
Sean.
Chris Johnson. If you had Chris Johnson that year, like pretty much, you could. I guess you could make this argument for every single one of our players on this list based on the year. Their
numbers might be off.
Yeah. You think?
Anyways,
yeah, Chris Johnson, like, I don't have time for this.
all right, all.
Chris Johnson is amazing. Enough said. Okay, go move on to whatever you want to do. Because after that,
We lost all credibility with that, Sean. Oh my god.
It's okay.
I've used Sean's stats this whole time.
Most of them are right. Most of them are right. So got messed up at the beginning there. Anyway, so let's move on. We got the defense going on. My defense, it was kind of hard to look up the defensive stats for this, so I couldn't really mess it up. I went by what the feeling was last year. I felt as though in 2019, if you had the New England Patriots defense, you literally had the best running back, quarterback, whatever in football, because every week they were scoring 20-something points because they were getting 3, 4, 5 interceptions, turnover, something in order to generate points for your fantasy team. And you got them round 12 later. I don't know if people were really drafting them. No one thought the Patriots were going to be like that.
yeah, it was a record. Like on the flip side of what I said earlier about Michael Thomas beating me in all the championships, I did win 2 leagues just simply because the Patriots defense will score you like 25 points a game. It's crazy.
Right.
It was wild. It was every time like I would go against Patriots defense, like God, not again. Oh my God. I did like 3 leads last year, and I just every time I went against Patriots defense, I would hate to see them. In one league, someone traded the Patriots defense after I had already played them, so I played them twice. I was so pissed.
Oh, and here's an example, just like a real life fantasy example of how people value the Patriots defense. In one of my leagues, I got offered a trade of Mike Evans, and I believe it was. I mean, Joe Mixon didn't do that well, but Mike Evans and Joe Mixon just for the Patriots defense.
You had second half of the year, Mixon was good.
They offered
True. He did
decent players for one defense. That's wild.
Yeah.
They gave you Joe Mixon at the beginning of the year was garbage.
I
dropped him. Yeah.
Like averaging 6 points a game. Yeah.
No, but if he's not helping you, you got like I cut bait because after he didn't start doing his thing until like week 10. But you had lost so many weeks because you had him in your lineup or you just had him sitting there.
Yeah, those are the worst when you start I hate sitting on players who do that. I'd rather cut you now and deal with it later.
So I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, but that's how I actually got 2 trades like into 2 separate leagues that were like, what is this real kind of trades where it was like a top 15 wide receiver for the Patriots defense, but yeah, they were just amazing.
Right.
I got the 2000 Baltimore Raven defense, and besides Sean called me a homer for it, in hindsight, this is a great historic defense on paper for just football, but in fantasy, it probably wouldn't be the best pick for defenses. They didn't
tearing down your own team.
I'm just being realistic. Like with this draft, I would have got the Patriots first too, but Sean picked him up pretty early. When did you draft them? What round?
So it was an 8-round draft for everything. I got the Patriots defense in the 6th round, so not super early, but earlier than the other guys. Haytham picked the Ravens defense 2 picks later.
Yeah. But Ravens defense, they only gave up 165 points that season. That's an average of almost 10 points a game. That's wild.
Great defense.
Wild. Held pass touchdowns to 11 touchdowns and only had 5 rushing touchdowns scored against them. I love that defense.
It's wild.
Yeah, my defense is better. Quiet, everybody. I had the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. It's probably the most underrated defense of all time, if you ask me. Because I'm pretty sure – okay, maybe I didn't do my research like I should have, but I'm pretty sure, even to this day it stands, that they had the best passing defense of all time. Listen to this defensive backfield. Okay, we got Dexter Jackson, who was an amazing free safety, traded for him in Madden all the time. We have John Lynch, Rondé Barber, and Brian Kelly, who's extremely underrated as well. I think this year he had 8 or 9 interceptions. Yeah, eight interceptions. And they had Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks. The defense was just stacked.
Their defense was so good because they could generate so much pressure with their front.
Yeah.
So it helps the guys on the back end because you don't have to cover guys for more than 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So you could break on balls. You could be a little more aggressive because you know the quarterback's going to get the ball out of his hands with Warren Sapp coming at you.
Yeah, definitely. And they gave up 12.3 points a game, which is obviously isn't better than the other. Sean, did you research by any chance the 2019 defense and how much points they gave up?
Not the points specifically.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to compare defenses across the eras that way because the Patriots had a great passing defense as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking at defenses just 10 years ago compared to this year or this past year, I'm sorry, it's very different because there's a lot more free movement allowed where receivers are they're not allowed to get jammed up past 5 yards. They're not getting held, especially after the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. They won that on the back of their defense, and their defenders were pretty handsy, which I guess the NFL didn't really like. So they implemented more rules where the defender couldn't put their hands on the receivers as much. So the defense is played much different than it was back then. So it's
true.
Hard to compare defenses in that way. I just went off basically turnovers generated because those are going to get you to 2, 3, and potentially 6 points if they return it.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you're not letting the other team score. So that's good for a fantasy defense.
Yes.
But with Patriots, the reason why I don't think they're as great of a defense for football, they were great for fantasy, but their schedule last year was so easy. It's kind of hard not to be good like that.
That is also true.
It was so easy. But, you can't still take away from the fantasy aspect of it. They balled out every year. Every game in fantasy. So they got the defense player of the year and Stephon Gilmore,
But
yeah.
So those are the teams. Quick rundown again, one more. So I had Peyton Manning, 2013, 2000 Marshall Faulk, 2019 Christian McCaffrey, 2007 Randy Moss, 2015 Julio Jones, 2011 Gronk, 2005 Sean Alexander, and 2019 New England Patriots defense.
For me, I had 2019 Ashton Jackson, 2013 Jamal Charles, 2002 Priest Holmes, 2015 Antonio Brown, 2019 Michael Thomas, 2013 Jimmy Graham, 2017 Todd Gurley, and 2000 Baltimore's defense.
All right, now for the best team of the bunch. Save the best for last. I have 2018 Pat Mahomes, 2006 LaDainian Tomlinson, 2016 David Johnson, 2011 Calvin Johnson, a.k.a. Megatron, 2002 Marvin Harrison, 2018 Travis Kelce, let's go, 2009 Chris Johnson, and the amazing best defense of all time, 2002 Bucks defense.
So you have a little bias with the Johnsons, huh? Chris Johnson,
so many Johnsons.
Calvin Johnson, David Johnson.
Matt loves a Johnson.
Trio.
Yeah.
Oh,
Matt loves a Johnson.
Okay. This is a PG show.
Not anymore.
Earlier.
Johnsons. I have 3 Johnsons. Yeah. Johnson trio.
Johnson bias right there.
Now, what you name your team? All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, are we going to put up a poll, I think, to have everyone vote on, or just tell us what team they think is best?
Oh, yeah, we're going to put a poll up. We're going to have it up on the Facebook. We're going to have it up on Twitter.
On the gram, maybe. No, you can't really do it. Maybe.
Yeah, Instagram, we got that. You only can do 2 options. It's terrible. Well, you could do 3, actually, if you do a multiple choice, but you have to say which team you have to say which one's the right answer. So I'll just put me, since obviously
just me and just put me or me.
Do you think me, myself, or I?
There you go.
Dylon, and Dylon.
So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Helmets and Hoops. That was episode 4 for us.
4.
Starting to move a little bit quick for us. Catch us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we appreciate you guys tuning in.
All right, till next time.
Bye.